analytics group called RevPal with the title Airbnb Revenue Collapse Top 10 Cities. And it's showing a lot of these cities: Seaverville, Tennessee; Phoenix, Arizona; Austin, Texas; Myrtle Beach, blah, blah, blah. All with these like 30 and 40% losses in Airbnb revenue. What's going on, guys? Welcome to this episode of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast. Sorry, I just walked in on Dan talking some crap here on some of our friends who...
I thought it was funny. It's hilarious.
So this is our friend Tara Fernandez from a few episodes ago. What episode was she? Should look
dozen
actually
or so ago, maybe.
About her. No, dude, we're like a lot further back than there. She was episode 83. We're pushing the 120s now.
Wow.
Her husband posted something on Instagram about how she got a business card, like a platinum card,
that gets you into the Centurion Lounge.
Yeah, but he wasn't allowed to go in because he didn't have a card, so he had to stay.
Dude,
outside.
I walked in. I was like, I had a first class ticket, right? And I'm not a well-traveled person like you, but I had a first class ticket on Delta. This one we flew to Florida, and so I went into the lounge. I had like a little layover. I was gonna like grab a beer or something, and I walk in, and the guy's like, excuse me, sir, do you have whatever? And I was like, yeah, here's my boarding pass. It's like first class. He's like, the only way you can get in here is if you have one of these cards. He like rolls down this like pamphlet that has like 6 American Express cards on it that I did not have. I was like, all right, I guess I'll go to my gate.
Yeah, it's usually that, or if you have first class international. So first class domestic, they don't give you lounge access.
That was my expectation because last time I did that, I guess you're right, I was international, whatever. So anyhow, it's kind of funny. I felt very small. Yeah, so then I've tried to apply for all the credit cards.
I mean, it is worth it, right? Like, honestly, if you're a big traveler to have stuff like that, not only just for the points of their travel hacking, but they have their own like customer service lines. So I was just in Maui last week, and just hanging out there for the week with my family. And on the way, everything was good, flying there, easy. Flying back, everything was looking good. And then we got to the airport, and freaking Hawaiian Airlines. So I didn't want to take the red eye back because I hate the red eye. So we had booked it through Delta so that they booked us a flight on Hawaiian to go to Honolulu. We take the daylight flight back through Seattle. And we show up there, and Hawaiian's like, oh, there's a problem with your boarding pass. And I'm like, what do you mean there's a problem with my boarding pass? I freaking have it right here on my phone. Here's my seats. It's confirmed and everything. And they're like, oh, well, that's through the Delta app. I'm like, I know, but it says the Hawaiian flight right here, you dumbass. Right? And I was sitting there trying to figure out what the situation is. I was actually very polite. I tend to not get worked up in these situations like people do. But lo and behold, what had happened is somewhere in the system, there was a computer glitch where basically the Delta had booked my flight. It had not translated over to the Hawaiian registry correctly, and they had our names on file with seat assignments, but we could not get a ticket for some reason. So like that plane had 2 seats reserved for us, but we could not physically get a ticket, and the ones that we had originally were not valid. So they're basically like, you can't fly. I was like, well, what do I do? And they said, well, there's not really much we can do for you, so you got to call Delta. And fortunately, because I have the Delta Reserve card, there was all the nonsense on the East Coast with the insane weather making all of the...
I was wondering if that was going to affect your flights.
Yeah, well, it's just crazy, right? Because it was so far trying to leave Maui. But all the support lines were just majorly backed up. But because I have the card, I have like my special number I call. So I called it. I was talking to someone in 7 minutes. They were able to get us rebooked and everything. I ended up having to take the red eye back, which sucked. But, I had an extra day in Maui. It's not that big of a deal.
Right, it could be worse.
But like that alone, everyone's like, oh, well, it costs like $500 a year. That alone, rather than having to sit on hold in frickin' Maui for like 6 hours, it's worth $500 a year.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's when you need it,
it happens,
and it's worth it.
One time.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I would say from a business like hack standpoint too, like we have the business platinum, which I don't know if that has what perks that comes with separate from the reserve card, but like if you're looking for a business card, which you should, if you have even a small time wholesale operation, get a business card because it builds your credit. And I think was it Brandon Elliott on the show? You interviewed him I don't know, has it dropped yet?
Yeah, he was talking about how he does like the massive basically cash advances on him at like 0% and uses that to buy houses.
Yeah, but he's got his whole hack stuff. So if you haven't listened to that episode, like listen to it. There's some stuff there. I'm not going to cover that, but like from building business credit, that is super important. And we do have the business platinum. The reason why we like the platinum is because you're paying like $500 or $600 a year, but you get a ton of perks, including Centurion Lounge access. But also you have the unlimited balance. So it's very nice from a business standpoint. You want to go buy your marketing, then you can go out, buy your marketing, have some income roll in, and then pay the balance off. And you have so much you're allowed to carry over month to month. You can't carry it all over month to month. But as you grow your business and the more you use, the more they'll let you kind of put on the card and carry over. And you don't have to get stuck with, like when we first started our business, we had like $3,000 limit, which you can't do shit with in your business. So go get a credit card like that, the American Express, which you can still use for personal benefits. And then we rack up points on it. And it's funny because like a lot of our business expenses end up being like a 1.5 times multiplier. So it's kind of cool from that sense. And so now you're getting points that you can use for your business or your personal life. You get all the personal and business benefits of the card. And most importantly, you're building like business credit that can help you. Then you go out and get a business line of credit and you actually have credit history associated with your actual business name. And it's easier to get more additional lines of credit.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and it's adds leaving like an ROI on some of the money you spend after a while. Cause like, you know, the different things you can get for it, even if you get it cash back. I mean, we had a shit ton of points from our previous few years of business that we'd never touched. So what did we each take, like a $10,000 cash return on it last year? Cause we couldn't figure out anything to do with the points.
Sure.
So we just took a shit ton of money. Yeah, we did. It was like last December, we just took a bunch of points off and just cashed them in for literally money, and we're like, cool, Christmas bonus, just from having this business.
Or use that money you're spending on your business, like to buy flights to a mastermind like KeysCon or something like that. You know what I mean? Because you're going to get direct like conversions anyways from your MasterCard to like Delta or something like that.
Yeah. Exactly. And we announced KeysCon for our Instant Investor group. So we're doing an in-person mastermind for everyone that's in our Instant Investor program down in Scottsdale. And no doubt we'll be using some of our business points to book those flights because why not?
Yeah.
That'd be silly not to.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to come to a KeysCon, you should join the Instant Investor program in the next month and you'll make the cutoff to be able to come down and hang out with us for a few days.
Yeah, and here's one thing I'll say as well about that is like if you aren't in the Investor program, yes, you're going to miss out on the KeysCon unless you sign up now. But if you're a listener and you're like, we would be interested in going to an event, even so, like let us know because then it'll let us know that we can and should curate some other additional events for other folks. So let us know what the demand is out there because you know it's going to be, what do you call that? Off the chain. Off the hook.
Off the chain.
Off the hook.
Off the hook.
It's gonna,
cool. or what do kids say? It's gonna be fire, or is that too old?
Nah, you got to be like 30 and above to say fire. I don't know what they're saying now. Don't they say
30 and above to say fire?
Don't they say like cap? Is it cap? I don't know how to use that one yet. Cap.
Oh, don't. Yeah, cap is like if you're lying.
Oh, okay. No cap. It's gonna be off the chain. Don't worry.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That makes no sense. If that means you're whatever. Anyhow.
That's funny. Yeah, so that was my adventure travel coming back. It's just always something, you know, but I was grateful to have that card though, because like seriously, the extra day in Maui would have gone from being perfectly tolerable to being super shitty if I just had to be on.
Well, here's good news though, that you made me aware of is maybe next year when you go to Maui, you can stay in an Airbnb for cheap because everybody will be trying to get rid of their shit because apparently Airbnb is not a good business model.
Well, it's such a funny thing. So if you guys have been on social media at all over the past, I guess like this peaked this past week from when you're going to hear this episode, there was a chart that went around. I need to pull it up here to get the exact name of it, but it was from a analytics group called RevPal with the title Airbnb Revenue Collapse Top 10 Cities. And it's showing a lot of these cities: Seaverville, Tennessee, Phoenix, Arizona, Austin, Texas, Myrtle Beach, blah, blah, blah. All with these like 30 and 40% losses in Airbnb revenue. And this got posted, went viral, tons of places. I saw tons of like mainstream articles about it. I shared it. And then people were suddenly very quick to reach out about how if you look at like AirDNA, which is another Airbnb data source, that these numbers are actually incorrect compared to what AirDNA says. And I'll say this way. I do think Airbnbs are starting to struggle and a lot of them are collapsing, and that mostly comes from the direct conversations that I've had with people that have struggling Airbnbs, which is a lot of people. I know there's still people out there that are crushing it, but I'll say if you're like, if you see people talk about this and they're like, well, with my 8,000 Airbnbs, they're all up. Listen, they're the freaking outlier, right? It's like Elon Musk arguing that salaries aren't going down because he's still getting richer, right? They are the 1%. Yeah. It all is about what the exception, the median people are doing. Exactly. What's going on with them. And the funny thing is too, so everyone was sending all this stuff from AirDNA, but the problem is they're not comparing apples to apples. Like, and no one seemed to understand this. I don't know why, because this chart that was getting shared, it's basically showing May of 2022 to May of 2023 as like 3-month averages, so basically like quarterly averages showing these drops. And everyone was arguing with these AirDNA numbers that were just showing May versus May. Mm-hmm. So they're basically ignoring the 12 months that this chart's using. Right? And just trying to compare one month to the other month. And ultimately what I've decided after going back and forth with several people is just do your own freaking research. Yeah. And whenever a third party tells you anything, just think about why they would want to share that with you. Okay? And consider that in your analysis. Because I'll think about this, and I'll argue this on both sides. I don't know what this Rev company does, RevPal, but AirDNA is highly incentivized for you to think that Airbnbs are just fine and dandy, so that you keep using their service for as long as possible so they can keep making money off of you. If they show you that Airbnbs are tanking and everyone stops leaving their service, their business goes away.
So true.
Right? So just keep that in mind whenever you are using data from
what I find super fascinating about this graph or this table is the actual numbers. So May 2022, which are presenting as good numbers. What is this? Yeah. If I'm reading this right, was it saying that in May 2022, if you were an Airbnb owner in Austin, you made on average $46.25 in revenue? Because that's not a lot. No. I mean, you think about it.
With taxes, that's not even going to cover your property.
It's not even going to cover your cleaning fees.
That's your top line revenue.
You know what I mean? Once you talk about all your stuff, and so like when you include all your expenses, just this last weekend we had a big event here in Spokane, and our Airbnb did like $2,000 in 4 days, and we're like, I don't think that's
really?
Yeah, but like, and you can compare that, and you'd be like, dude, I made so much money. Look at this, which is a lot of people do. It's like, yeah, but come here in freaking February, that shit, we ain't making nothing. You know what I mean? It's just like, because we have a big 3-on-3 basketball tournament that comes through town, like 30,000 people flood into town and they pay, to play in this tournament. So it's like, of course we did great that weekend. We have other events that we just crush on the weekends. And so I'm just fascinated with like May, which I think in most of these places like Phoenix, even May's a great month in Phoenix because it's not super hot in the summer, but for people that want to come down for the heat, and there's a lot of events, including baseball and all that to come down to, that in Phoenix you'd only be making $5,500. I'm like, that seems low compared to what some of these people tell me that they make.
Unless this is another classic situation of some pundit mixing up revenue and profit.
That's right? Good too, because they are, well, Airbnb revenue collapse. Yeah, it could be profit collapse. Because I guess if your profit was, but there's no way that they would know that because they don't necessarily know what your expenses are. So that would have to be still pure, even if they subtracted cleaning fees out, which can be absurd. Like our cleaning fee sometimes is as much as our nightly stay, if not more sometimes, depending on the time of year. And so like, if your mortgage easily in Austin, Texas is $4,000 a month, honestly.
Yeah, actually, that's a very valid point because they're only going to have access to whatever numbers they can scrape off of Airbnb, which won't take into account.
Yeah, and if they're taking into account anecdotal data from the Airbnb owners who are all liars, then that's really a poor statistic here. This whole graph's shit. So.
Yeah. So I mean that like again though, it just goes back to whenever you see anything like that elicits a strong response from people, analyze who's sharing the data and what is their ultimate motive with it, right?
Totally.
Because like I need to actually probably look up that company and see what they do, because I bet you that they have some reason to be against Airbnb, and they're going to try and share something that would be inflammatory towards Airbnb investors, short-term rent investors, and obviously AirDNA is going to be the opposite. And I mean, here's the thing, everybody, it's all game. Everyone wants you to, do whatever is going to make them more money. And the only way that you can really know for sure what's going on is by like doing your own research. And by doing your own research, that doesn't mean going and like watching YouTube videos or typing into Google. That means like talking to people that are actually working in the trenches in those markets in that style of business. And, seeing, not only just talking to them, but verifying with them the specifics, right? Because they could also be lying to you. Yeah. And that's really the only way that you can do it, honestly. Yeah. Like if you go back to movies like The Big Short, for the 2008 collapse, I'm sure that they, in the movie, they exaggerated a little bit. But the things that those guys recognized to start to see that there was going to be a shift is like them, like, going and visiting Florida. And they're like, why is every single house on this street for sale? Yeah. Just like little stuff like that seems weird. And then, or like when they go and they are at the strip club and the stripper's talking to them about how she bought like 8 houses with zero money, zero money out of pocket. And they're like, that does not make sense. Yep. Like that is a red flag right there. Yep. But if you listen to any sort of mass data company, just know that they want you to believe something.
Totally.
For a reason.
Yeah, they're doing something, or they're funded by somebody. And yeah, that's the thing. Exactly. Is like if it seems to be, at least for us, if it's too good to be true, it usually is. And we've tried to like look at things that are like, oh, that sounds awesome, and then you're like, I think that's too good to be true. And we found out either the hard way or just by doing our research that it is too good to be true. Even sometimes when we get deals under contract, we're like, that was too easy. Like I was just telling the guys on the phone this morning in the kickoff meeting, I was like, actually one of our sales guy, Bryce, he actually made this observation. And I was like, yeah, there's kind of like 3 tiers or 3 bands of sellers that they fall into. And then there's, subcategories within that. The first one is like that low hanging fruit that comes in and they need to sell. They meet all your requirements. You get it under contract super fast. Like you get it under contract the same week. Then there's this other band that's like the 6-week follow up. They're reasonably motivated, but they're just kind of like not sure. They're maybe talking to other people, and then you finally get it locked up. And it's like a 6 to 8 week thing. And then there's this other band, which is like after 2 months, it could be 2 years, it could be a year. You just this consistent follow up. They forget about you, but then 2 months later they're back on. Like so there's these big bands of sellers, and sometimes that first band, which is like they call you and they sell right away for the number that you want, are liars, and they're not real deals. It's too good to be true, and they're trying to sell a house that's actually not theirs.
Yeah, right. Which is literally a situation that we're dealing with right now. Well, I guess we're trying to figure out. I mean, it just general in life, though. I'll dive into that whole situation here in a second. But just general in life, whether it's business opportunities, investment opportunities, some like this. Like, and the thing is, even smart people fall for this. I could not fucking believe all these dumbasses that we know that are like highly successful people that were paying $50,000 for an automated Amazon store.
What?
That was going to give you 100% return in a year. It's like, come on, man. You like, what I'm talking about. All those, those people that were buying those.
No, I just didn't realize they were having to pay that much for them. I was thinking maybe it was hopefully a lower cost solution, but I know people that are trying to sell those. It's like trash.
It's trash. They're like $30,000 to $50,000, and then monthly commitments to buy inventory for these automated. Like, sounds too good to be true. It's stupid, right? Someone goes and tells you that you can buy all these houses with zero money out of pocket, and this is what you're going to make, and it's super easy. No, pays more, but you're a fucking liar, right? Like, just you can go. You can go and like look at everything. Fitness, 7-minute abs, not true. Don't buy the little spring thing they try to sell you. But
yeah, you're absolutely right though. It's like that's just nothing good comes without a little bit of effort or work. And yes, maybe you can buy a really great seller finance deal or sub-2 deal with no money out of pocket, maybe, but that's so rare. It's not. You can't build a business around it. Exactly. You can't. Like, and I know people that are doing like real deals that understand creative finances, and we'll just use this as an example, and they maybe pop 1 or 2 off a year, and it's not like they can't do it more. It's just that's about like what makes sense. Like it's just you do 100 deals a year, maybe 1 or 2% are creative finances. You can't build a business model around it.
Yeah, and people, that think that they just do those all the time. It's just not how it works. I mean, statistically, because there aren't that many sellers where it actually makes sense for them. Yep. It's funny. I got into a debate with someone about this the other day, and someone sent me this video with 2 of our favorite people, and it was like how to flip the script on a no seller finance offer, and like they had this thing, and it was like this cut video with like all these different sections. I'm like, they don't even show like the whole story, A, and B, how do we know this isn't just like their friend that's like pretending to be a seller?
Right, you don't.
Like, honestly. and just trying to like express their narrative. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a conspiracy theorist when it comes to all these real estate liars.
No, I just think you
anyway,
just
I want to
know
go.
enough,
I want to talk about our. Yeah, right. I've been around long enough that I'm skeptic on stuff. But I want to talk about this deal that we have. Ours are too good to be true situation. And I'll be fair, the guy teed it up in ways that made perfectly valid sense for it. So we have this house. It's exactly what Dan described before. The guy called in. He wanted like 75 grand. He basically said, it's in an area that's pretty shitty in town. Needs lots of work. ARVs are like low 200s. Like realistically, 75 is probably where we would have been anyway. And then he tops off the call with saying, "Oh, and I have really violent, nasty tenant in there, so you can't see the house. So that's be completely sight unseen." I'm like, okay, that's fine. For us to do that, we're gonna need to be at like 40. And after a little bit of humming and hawing, he's like, "Okay, fine, that sounds good." And so we sent him over the purchase and sale, and he goes, "We can't close with that title company. This is the title company we always close. He says, we can't close with them. She caused me major problems before, so we need to close this other company." And we're like, okay, that's fine, whatever, we'll figure it out. So we go over to the other title company, and they flag the deal basically saying that it needs to go through a probate. And we're like, well, what does that mean? Like we've been talking to the seller, allegedly. Apparently there needs to be a probate that's going on. And so we went and looked at the records, and like 2 months ago, there's these recorded documents. We went and pulled the actual recorded docs. There's these recorded quitclaim deeds that like very obviously have the same handwriting on both sides of the deed with the same pen. At one point he changed the pen, but the handwriting is exactly the same. And then he changed back to like the black pen again. Signed, all this sort of stuff that's recorded that I'm pretty sure is this dude just like deeding the house over to himself to try and sell it. And then we did some more back checking on kind of the situation, and the actual owner of the house is in prison. Like the person that was quitclaimed from to the current guy we've been talking to is in prison for a myriad of crimes, everything from like, sex crimes to assault to whatever. And so he ended up in prison in like February, and his bond, and this is where I'm getting really woo-woo-y with this, his bond amount to get out of jail was the exact amount the guy asked for on the phone when he first called us, the 75 grand.
That's weird.
So I'm pretty sure there's two potential situations here. Either the guy that called us is trying to like steal the house from this dude that's in jail and sell it, or he's basically trying to like offload this house to get his sex offender buddy out of prison.
Yeah. Either,
like,
no matter
happening?
what, he's not doing anything legal, right? He's trying to get his sex offender out of jail, or he is like definitely trying to. He knows the guy went to jail, and he's like, "I'm going to steal this guy's house."
Yeah, right. And the probate situation comes because the guy who's in jail's dad was the original owner, who I'm guessing died like a long ass time ago, and that whole transfer didn't go down legally.
Yeah, so, yeah. When he told, when we heard like, oh, he doesn't want to use our title, I'm like, gosh, I can't imagine like them screwing a guy. Oh, what does he mean? Spidey sense should kind of kicked on then, and then when we sent it to another title company that we happen to know the title officer at, and she's like, yeah, this is super weird why our title officer was like, you have to go through probate on this one, like we don't normally do that. He could just fill out this form if it was like this. And then I talked to him, and they're like, yeah, so this is not like a normal situation, and we definitely can't insure this one unless it goes through probate. So you have two title companies saying that they won't insure it unless it goes through probate. Yeah, we just kind of were like, all right, we're not even going to pursue that.
Yeah, and this is a reason it's really important to make sure that you have a good title company and to review title reports and things like that, where this stuff will be, outlined with like legalese. You need to know what you're looking for. But like what could theoretically happen in this situation is you have, let's say you go through like an attorney, and there's attorneys here in town that will do this, where they just kind of like turn a blind eye to the situation and they allow the sale to go through because they want to get paid or whatever. And you end up in a situation where you now have paid money to be put on title for a house that you cannot sell to somebody else legally unless you go to the same attorney again who's willing to push it through, and B, you can potentially get sued by the person that does have legal right to the property. So you'll be out not only the money but also the house.
Yeah,
they'll end up taking it back.
Imagine you
and
buy
this
it
happened
and you
to one of our
renovate it, and
competitors.
somebody else basically is like, you don't own that house when you go to sell it and you have to go to title. Another title company is just like, no, we can't clear this title. Now you're stuck with it. Best case scenario, you get to keep it without somebody coming after you, but you can't get money out of it because even a loan company, like a lender's not going to lend on it because they want a clear title too.
Exactly. Yeah. And this happened to one of our competitors here in Spokane last year. And basically the tenant of the house claimed they had ownership because the owner because we wholesaled them the deal, which is a funny thing, but we didn't know all these details, but they basically pushed it through with their attorney because they really wanted the house, if you remember.
I do.
So the person that we had the contract with had taken deed from the owner's dead father or something, and I guess they had some sort of agreement that was slightly off the books that they were supposed to get the property back at some point, and it just never happened. And then, he sold it to our competitors, and that got really weird because not only did they get sued like 8 or 9 times, they kept trying to sue them, but they also had the people show up with a gun at their office. Happy. No, it's not happy. Not happy. So, you gotta be careful out there.
Yeah, clear title. Check your title reports. Get your contracts into title. Review it before you get yourself into a kerfuffle.
But the funny thing is I think that's one of those things that 99.9% of investors never even think about. They don't especially a lot of newbies, they probably barely even know what title is.
Gurus aren't out there pitching it, man. They're not talking about that.
Well, yeah. Well, and to be fair, until there's a problem, you don't always necessarily need to like jump into details.
Yeah.
But like the thing is as you're doing this business for long enough, that becomes honestly the bulk of the opportunities that are out there right now.
For sure.
Are ones that have title issues. And this started back in 2021 when the market was booming, where you could sell a refrigerator box in the corner for $100,000 over asking price, right? The only people that couldn't sell houses for that period of time were people that had major financial issues or that needed a short timeline, or they had legal issues that a realtor was like, I don't want to play this game.
Right. Yep. Or your typical average person can't figure it out, and they don't know how to get it through probate. They don't know the next steps, and those people themselves don't know how to do it. I would say like right now, just because we have so many deals going on in escrow, we always probably once a week have a probate title issue. And it's usually like, well, there's 13 people on title. And you're like, God damn it. Like, how?
I know. Yeah. Well, there's stuff like that. Or like right now we have this one where we're having to do a freaking survey to like make sure that the land and stuff is actually like that the structures are supposed to be on the property. So they're having to go and like check all these records, which takes a bunch of time because otherwise it can't legally be sold with its current state. What other ones do we have? It's like that is the main problem solving right now if you're doing this business at any sort of scale. And you have to have a pretty firm understanding about how the real estate transaction process works. And if you don't, you're going to miss out on tons of opportunities because the guy that just like says, oh, hey, I need to sell my house because I need to move quickly. I got a new job. All the ones that like all the gurus tell you happen all the time, they don't happen all the time.
That first band is pretty rare.
Yeah. Yeah. But even from when we started, like back in 2020, the first handful of deals that we did were landlords that were just like, I don't want to fix the roof. You want to buy it?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. COVID was a good tailwind for a lot of people too, though,
time.
because there's a lot of landlords who tenants weren't paying. And they were like, well, shit, I'm scared. This could go on forever. And we were there to save them. And that was a great tailwind. But then what we also found out as we kept going is that we were able to continue to do business despite any other weak spots, is because we didn't really take no as an answer from like title companies and lawyers. Like we went and figured out the problems and got creative and said, okay, so I know you're saying we can't do it because of this, but like, what if we were able to solve that issue? Okay, we could close. How do we solve that issue? What's step one? Step one is to call a probate attorney. Okay, cool. Let's do that. Let's be willing to go after and chase these down and do deals.
Yeah, and that's where you make your money right now is putting in those extra effort. If you're not willing to do that, it's probably not the best time to get into this business.
Right. Yep.
And it likely won't be for a long time because those people aren't going to be going anywhere.
For sure.
But yeah, other than that though, any other business stuff you want to report on? I know we're both kind of in an interesting spot right now as we've really been working on getting some stuff systematized. We've been rocking all the new Rocket Station VAs. If you guys listened to the episode with Greg Brooks a couple weeks ago, we've had them come in and they've taken some of the good heavy lifting off of the stuff that we've typically ran in the business.
They're doing fantastic.
And we're just we're just clipping right now.
Yep.
Because I think you've gotten all the transaction stuff pretty much over to them. I have all of our marketing stuff over to them, and it's like, well, we should have hired these guys sooner.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah, I wish I knew about them sooner. They're actually really. I mean, we've used VAs since we started. Mm-hmm. We've used other staffing firms and had mixed reviews, but knowing that this was out there as a resource is huge. Rocket Station definitely has. I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to make this like a commercial, like one of those like advertisements. Like, once I found Viagra, it changed my life. Like, what? I don't know. Like I'm like the lady sitting in the bathtub and her husband got Cialis, and I'm just excited kind of commercial. But once we got Rocket Station, it really changed. I mean, it changed kind of like our ability to move faster for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I know it's not an ad at all. It's just one of those things that, like, when you find something that's like really effective for you, you get excited about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're like, damn.
Yeah.
Especially when you're like, I wish I knew that before. I'm an idiot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just interesting transitioning more fully into like CEO and like operative roles,
right.
And, trying to figure out what that looks like. And so we just hired a new, I guess, media team as well, that we can make some additional content on that end, which has been an interesting process. We never had to like go down that whole realm before. But it's ultimately with anything in this business, if you want to do something well and you want to do it in a decent amount of time, you can pay to do it faster. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're doing right now. We're Absolutely. Just fully in that phase. And that's always a big thing too, when I get people that, and all the time, newbies reach out and they're just like, hey, so like if I wanted to get to your, like literally I talked to the guy yesterday, it's like, if I wanted to get to like where you're at as fast as possible, what should I do? And I was like, pay someone to help you do it. Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, I was thinking like if I'd use this system and I called this list and I did those things, like, no. Yeah. Like, you're just going to spin your wheels. You don't know what you don't know yet. Go and find a mentor, find a team, find like a JV partner, whatever, and cut them into the deals, or pay someone on like a, hourly rate, or join their group or whatever to get you there faster. And that will absolutely do it. Yeah. And once you've built your business, that becomes, internal people, right? Like, you hire like a consultant to come and help you, or you hire like a sales trainer to make your sales guys better, or you go and you hire, a VA staffing company to get you VAs, so you don't have to spend, 3 months trying to find the good ones on Upwork for your geo arbitrage over the fuck. Like, I just can't let it go, dude.
That is kind of a poor marketing scheme.
I keep seeing it, and I'm like, dude, you're so much better than that. Come on.
Yeah. I agree though, like with what you're saying, and like it takes an incredible amount of time to master something. So when someone's like, how do I get to where you're at? It's like, man, like that's a loaded question anyways. Like that, you think about all the hard work, and like, are you going to bypass that hard work by just like, I don't know, it's too good to be true type thing? Like, no, like, but you can go faster by paying people, by buying experience. Which is what like you said, we've got this media team. I'm excited to see the outputs of that. That's going to be a lot of fun. But just anything in general, like, why would you hire a consultant to do something? Because the time to build expertise in that specific topic, that like HR, for example, for companies that are like medium size, like getting to our level, right? Like the reason why they hire HR consultants is because to build an HR team would be incredibly inefficient and take way too long to figure that out. Yeah. Or to bring in, we've got a consultant helping on our systems side of things, like, because like to get that expertise of like software development, all that into our business would just take too long to get there. We could totally do it, but why not just get there faster? And finding the areas in your life or your business where getting there faster through paying for a service would help. That's where you really need to dial it in my opinion.
Yeah. And I think that's a level of business maturity as well that you have to reach to sort of understand that. 'Cause I mean, there's even guys we know that do very, very well that they'll still be like, hey, I'm playing around with these, different designs for this new business idea. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Like, if you like that, that's cool.
People that are like, yeah, I'm a doctor, I make $450,000 a year. I'm really trying to house hack this. And like, no, stop. Go buy yourself a nice little house. Enjoy your life. You don't need to go house hack a duplex. Like, come on, man.
Dude, but like all the time. Or like I have a guy that I've talked to in the past he's a medical doctor, and he's hit me up a couple times, and he wants to know about cold calling software. I'm
are
like,
you doing, dude?
bro, you're like that. That's like the most hireable thing you can do. And I'm just guessing if you're a doctor, your sales skills probably aren't top notch.
Your bedside manner is probably not great either.
Yeah, right. You know, unless they're like a orthopedic doctor that works at one of those like clinics where they just like pump every single person that comes through that has like back pain. They're just like, yep, we're gonna replace
you need a new
vertebrae.
spine.
But, oh god. But yeah, different kind of sales. But anyways, all right. Well, I think that's all from us though.
Yeah.
We have a new shirt though at store.collectingkeys.
Did it drop?
It did. It's officially out.
Ooh.
Our I'm looking at Jets shirt.
I got to order
which should be the motto for everyone if you want to keep growing this business. You want to get to the position where you are looking at Jets.
Let's see. That is also kind of a pun. Did we ever explain the pun?
I think we did an episode or two ago. But the long story short with this is when we went to our mastermind with our business coach, there was this one speaker that we didn't really care for.
Well, there's
too
two
much.
speakers that said it. But.
Yeah, but one guy said it in a douchey
way.
Right,
yeah, a different way.
But he was trying to brag about how good he was doing, and he said, "I'm looking at Jets, you guys," and that sort of became our joke for how you know you're doing well is if you're looking at Jets.
It's funny too though, because like I feel like you definitely did not vibe with him as much. Like I didn't like hate on him. Like I'm like I get what he's doing. Like I got it. Like he's doing all right.
No,
but like after seeing like his fee versus the other guy's fee, I'm like, oh okay, you're not looking at Jets.
Yeah, right. He's trying to figure it out. He's looking at like drones.
He's looking at business class. So
business class if he's lucky. I think he's looking at $109 drones from Toys R Us.
Oh yeah, I'm buying a shirt right now.
But you guys, go check out the merch store if you want a shirt. We also have some good other collecting keys swag on there, and represent.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna bring it back until for 1 month, for the month of July. If you get a piece of collecting keys swag, and if you post a 5-star review and send me a screenshot at Mike_invest on Instagram, I'll send you a piece of collecting keys swag of your choice.
Do it.
So just for the next month, because I did that for a while and it started to get really expensive. But for 1 month, I'll bring it back. Go leave me a 5-star review. Send me a screenshot at Mike_invest on Instagram. I'll send you a piece of collecting keys swag of your choice. But besides that, guys, appreciate you all listening. You should share this with your friends and anyone else who they don't have to be a friend, just like an acquaintance too, who might be interested in real estate. Share this with them. And you should also go to collectingkeyspodcast.com/free. Get your free 5-step guides that generate off-market leads. And then you can ultimately be, making some money and hopefully looking at Jets yourself sometime in the future.
Or at least get a shirt that says I'm
thanks for listening, everybody. Yeah, right. Just get a shirt and just pretend. It's even easier. But thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to y'all next week.
See y'all.